All right, well, we just finished Saturday in the bike shop, actually a week in the bike shop. And of course, you know me, I'm grabbing a helmet and some lights. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, but I really want to go ride my bike. I want to be out there riding the mountain bike or the gravel bike, but one nice thing about having a gravel bike like this is if it rains most of the day and I want to go put in some urban loops, the gravel bike's a great bike to do it on. It can handle the wetness of the urban situation. So anyway, business wise this week it is spring in Biloxi, and oh shoot, we did a duathlon today, so I got to see a lot of the riders I haven't seen for a while, and I know a lot of these people need work on their bikes, and generally in the spring my service department is busy. I mean, really busy, and I've just gave my mechanic Steve a couple extra days this week, where generally in the spring that's unheard of, so I gave him a couple days off. He's got some things he wants to do around the house, so it kind of works for both of us. I've cut a few hours, and Steve gets some things done, but it's not really what we want come springtime in the bicycle shop. So even that we were doing the duathlon today, I saw several bikes out there that need maintenance, and I think people are just they're holding on to their wallets right now, and I get it. Things are a little bit crazy economically wise, but another thing is if you don't do that maintenance, the cost of maintenance is less than the cost of worn out components. So this is the bike that I rode today. This is an older Shiv. I bought this bike before I even started the bike shop. So and this is the same cassette. I've done a lot of races and a lot of riding on this bike, but I'm constantly lubed. So I use actually a chain wax on this, and Matt, my buddy Matt I bought this from, was very meticulous on his maintenance. So this bike hasn't cost me much money over the years to use. When I say chain wax, I keep the chain waxed. It's nice and clean and lubricated, and it's smooth. I saw today some really dirty drivetrains, and I heard these aero bikes and bikes making all kinds of noise out there today. When bikes are making noise, that's usually because something is touching, metal to metal, rubber to metal, plastic to carbon. When you hear rubbing and clanking, and you hear, like today we're in a time trial basically, and so people are down in their higher gear range down here, putting a lot of torque into the pedals. When you put a lot of torque in the pedals, just realize the more pressure you put in your pedal, the more pressure goes into your sprocket, which the more pressure goes on your chain. So if you don't think that you need some lubrication on your moving parts of your bike, believe me, you're wearing them out. Every time you pedal, you're putting a little wear on your bike. Now if you can lubricate it, it cushions that wear, makes things last a lot longer. If you need to change a chain, it's a lot less than changing a chain and a cassette. This is a SRAM red cassette. This is actually a hard cassette to find because it's a 10-speed. I don't want to wear that out prematurely. And when you are crushing big gears, believe me, you're putting more wear on than you would if you were spinning. But when you're in a race situation and you're trying to keep that speed up so you can either catch the guy in front of you or the guy behind you doesn't catch you, then you put the power down. I'm a spinner. I don't have a whole lot of torque. I'm a 150-pound guy, and I've learned to spin. But in the duathlon, triathlon, multi-sport world, people crush big gears. I think when I got this bike, Matt had a 56 chainring on the front of it, but he's a much more powerful rider than I am. But moral to the story is, if you maintain your bike, it costs you less in the long run. So if you just let this thing go and you use the wrong lubes, and you get sand and dirt in your chain, it creates what's called a grinding paste. And it pretty much is grinding your metal away. It grinds all these little rollers away and it makes your chain loose. When your chain's loose, it rolls over the top of your teeth. It can make your shifting bad. So a lot of times, you know, you can do a chain, you can do 2 or 3 chains per every cassette. I get a little bit more than that. I can get about 4 chains to a cassette, and I'm pretty easy on my chains. So, you know, cables are another thing too. If you have a cable snap during an event, just think how much that event has cost you, especially if you came in from out of town to do that event, and in the middle of the event, the cable snaps. So if you see your cables are starting to get corroded, if they're not slipping through good, have them replaced. When a bike like this that has internal cable routing, it's definitely more of a hassle. So keep track of how your cables are. You know, it's hard to look at wear on a cable, but you can tell, especially when they're a bit exposed, if they start to look dusty, if they start to look dirty, if they lose their shine. So replacing a cable before an event usually is a pretty good idea, because sometimes these events cost you a lot of money in travel and time and everything else. So just know that the little things make a difference when you're looking at saving $1. And you know, if you're just letting your bikes, you know, go to waste. What's up, man? Your tires should be in next week, brother. I got tan walls coming for you. Awesome. I like that guy. I like all the bicycle riders around here. So anyway, we need a little bit of extra work for next week to keep my mechanics busy, and it is springtime. So hopefully someone will watch this video and say, gosh, you know, I've been neglecting my bike. You know, we get a lot of people, as I see people around town, and I'm going out for dinner and stuff like that, you know, people are, oh man, I got a bike I need to bring to you. Well, now's the time to bring to, hey Tommy, how you doing? Yeah, doing good. So yeah, now's the time to bring your bikes in, because, you know, a service department that's run on lean on labor can get overwhelmed really quick. So when you see that opportunity, when I see that opportunity of needing a little extra work, I let my public know, like, hey, now's the time to bring your bike in. That way you don't get surprised with a 2 or 3 week wait. Right now we're about a week. If people bring their bikes in before Wednesday, we can diagnose the bikes. If we don't have the parts, we order parts on Wednesday. We order parts once a week. So a lot of times people bring their bikes in Saturday, and then we have Saturday and Tuesday to, you know, diagnose any parts that need to be ordered. And on Wednesday we order parts, and parts are usually in by that Friday or that following Tuesday. It keeps things simple, and for a purchaser, it makes things where I don't have to order every day. Now, if we have a customer that needs a rush, we can do that, but we explain to the customer we can get that next day, or here's the price it's going to be. So we don't make money on shipping, but if we have to incur the cost of an expedited shipping, we just pass that on to the customer, give that customer, you know, the choice to either say yes. I know the part's only going to be $55 and shipping's $25 on it. You know, it gives the customer the choice. So we can special order, but if we do it, you know, these companies charge us extra for shipping small parts. Most of the time we've got a shipping threshold with some of our companies, and when we order once a week, we meet that threshold. So just know your bicycle shops, your local bicycle shops are doing basically the same thing we are, and we're trying to keep those costs down so, you know, we can try to eke out a profit. Every business needs to make a profit to survive, and the bicycle industry is struggling right now trying to find those profit margins. So I'm gonna stop this video now before I go too much into the nuts and bolts of the bike shop. But just know we had a lot of awesome customers this week. It was a fun week in the bike shop for hopefully the customers and employees. As the owner, you know, I feel a little bit of the extra stress of the business part of it, but I try not to pass that on to my employees or my customers. But I know my brain's starting to run thin, so getting ready to get out of here for the day, and I have room on my bench for a repair job come Tuesday morning too. So if anybody has a special request and they want me to do work on their bike, bring it on in. I'll be glad to do it. Bart from Bicycle Rider YouTube. Have a good weekend. And if you're in the Mississippi Gulf Coast, it's supposed to rain a little bit tomorrow here, but we're going to do some kind of ride in the afternoon. You're welcome to join us.